Hi, I'm Rick Mannon, and I'm happy today to be interviewing Derek Graham for the sport of lacrosse. As a member of the Brantford Minor Sports Lacrosse Association, from tyke to midget, Derek won provincial titles, Zone 8 championships, many tournaments, and was the first and only player to win all 4 Canadian National Lacrosse Championships. Derek has won 2 Founders Cups, a President's Cup, 3 Mann Cups, and 8 national championships. As a team member of Canada's inaugural junior national program, Derek also placed silver at the World Field Lacrosse Championships in Adelaide, Australia in 1988. Derek, what drew you into your sport?
My parents got me involved in lacrosse in 1976 down at the Lions Park, and I think what made them put me into lacrosse was the success of the Brantford Warriors winning the Mann Cup in '71 and Gaylord Palace's reign on the game in Brantford and bringing the notoriety to Brantford, and it just seemed like probably good timing, back then, and I seemed to do fairly well at it, and it was an aggressive sport, and that kind of fit right up my alley, and I kind of stuck with it in the summertime and enjoyed it and played it until probably about 2003.
Great. Do you have any mentors that have had an impact on your life, in your sport, or your career?
I have a lot of mentors that taught me the game of lacrosse and helped coach me, and teachers that taught me lessons along the way, and the number one mentor for me was Gaylord Palace. He's the one that taught me the game of lacrosse and taught me what it meant to be a lacrosse player, and his family and his relatives and his sister Gail and his father Ross, and we're always around, and they really emphasized respect, and everybody contributes, and everybody's a piece of the puzzle, and if you want to be successful as a team, then everybody has to contribute in all facets of the game of lacrosse. And I think learning that at an early age really helped me be successful, because when I went on to these different teams, I was able to fit right in because I could take up any role that was necessary on the team for the team to be successful, whether it be on the power play or the man short or playing defense or offense or even taking face-offs. I was taught those skills at a young age playing for the Brantford Minor Lacrosse Association. Along my path, I was able to play junior lacrosse in Brantford because we didn't have a center for lacrosse, so I went on to play for the Kitchener Braves, and Laurie Hallman was the head coach, who's a Hall of Famer, and from there I went to St. Catharines, where the legendary Jim Brady coached me in lacrosse, and I would definitely consider Jim Brady one of my true mentors of the game, because even though I think I learned a lot about the technical aspects of the game, and a lot of my players and teammates taught me a lot, Jim Brady taught me a lot about the psychological aspect of sport and what it meant to think about the game and prepare for the game, and there's more than just catching and throwing, and I think that really helped me because I always knew I wanted to be a coach, and later on when I was a coach, I found myself thinking back to a lot of those lessons that legendary Jim Brady had taught me as a junior A lacrosse player. And then on from there we went on to senior, where I had a coach by the name of Dave Wolfong when I went and played in the Western League in Coquitlam, and he was a Hall of Famer from Brantford, relocated out to Coquitlam, and he was a very great coach and very knowledgeable, and taught me some things about the game that I was able to continue on with. And I also had a coach by the name of Les Wakeling, who I won 3 Mann Cups with, and he taught me how to prepare for the game and how to think about the opposition and what you need to do to break down the other team to be able to win. So all along the way, I've had all these great coaches that have helped me develop into what I always knew I wanted to be, was a professional lacrosse coach. I guess I was a little arrogant and always knew I was going to be a professional lacrosse player, so I wasn't really worried about that, but I always knew I wanted to be a coach, and Gaylord taught me when I was young that if you know the game, you can stay with it for the rest of your life, and I really took that to heart, and that's what I wanted to be able to do, is continue to be involved with the sport of Bagataway.
What are some of the highlights of your career?
I guess playing for Team Canada was very special for me when I got that call one night from Dean McLeod, the 30-year Junior A commissioner, who's a legend, himself. He was the general manager at the time, and he called to inform me that I had been selected to represent Canada in Adelaide, Australia, in the 1988 Junior World Championships, and we finished second to the United States. The United States has never lost that tournament to date. That was probably the highlight of my career, being able to represent my country and do the best I could to try and win the gold medal. Like I said, unfortunately, we never won, but that was always a sore spot in my eye, and I used that as motivation, something that I didn't want to happen again. I wanted to make sure I won, because I had that feeling of defeat, and I didn't like it, and I wanted to be able to raise the trophy at the end of the year.
Right. How has lacrosse impacted your life?
Lacrosse impacted my life first when I was 12 years old, and Gaylord Palace and company took us to Burnaby, British Columbia to play in the Pee Wee National Championships. Just the plane ride for the first time as a 12-year-old flying over the Rocky Mountains was spectacular, and playing against teams from Alberta, from Burnaby, and even keeping that program and looking through it every once in a while, and not knowing who they were when they were 12, but looking through now and recognizing the faces that were playing back then in 1982 had quite an impact on my life. And I knew that was somewhere where I wanted to get back to. And when I was drafted out of Junior A, I knew that I wanted to go play in the Western Lacrosse Association, and fortunately for me, I was recruited and went there and got a chance to get back to where I was when I was 12 years old, 10 years later. And it was definitely an experience that I really cherished and wanted to have. And I guess that was my first major, how do you say, impact, I suppose. But along the way, winning championships and meeting new people and traveling the country and all those things that sports bring, to people to help them grow is definitely been a part of my entire life. And right now I hope to pass that on to other kids that I coach, and most definitely my children.
Great. Now, what does it mean to you being inducted into this sports hall?
It's kind of ironic because the fellow who inducted me, his name is Hubert Hilt. He's a friend of mine. We played football at University of Carleton together. He was an All-Canadian. He was the football player. I was the lacrosse player that played football. But we got to become very good friends, and he'd been bugging me for a while to put my application in, but I was a little bit nervous, I guess, because what if I didn't get selected? And I said to him, let me coach your son first, and let me prove to you that I'm worthy. And so I coached his son for a year, and we actually ended up 4th in Ontario in the A division. And he still wanted to put my name forth, so I said, go ahead, and he did. And when I got the call that I was accepted and going to be in the what I call the Gretzky Hall of Fame, and no disrespect to anybody else, but it meant a great deal, because I was able to be now inducted as a lacrosse player. So my first thought was, it's great for the sport of lacrosse, because I think we need more lacrosse players in this hall, and to be the first Brantford resident to be able to be in the Brantford Hall of Recognition is something special and something permanent, something that'll last forever. And I think that alongside the ones that are already in here, to be able to be up there with them truly means a lot to me, because I look at the wall and see the faces, and all of them were phenomenal athletes in their own right, and to be side by side with those exceptional athletes is something that I hold very dear to my heart.
Great. What advice would you share with a young aspiring athlete?
I think the first thing that comes to mind with sharing the advice is never give up. You might not be the best player when you're 12, you might not be the best player when you're 16, but if you continue to work hard and you know what you want to do, you'll get there. It was funny, I had a conversation the other day with somebody, and he said to me, he says, our children, we told them at a young age, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. If you decide not to do it, then that's fine, but don't let someone tell you can't do it. And I thought that was really cool, because it's true. If you stick with it and you work hard, you can have success. I guess the message that I'm trying to teach my children and kids that I coach is that you have to psychologically learn to love to practice as much as you do to play the games. Everybody likes to play the game and score the goal, and that's an aspect of sport. But if you can convince yourself, even if you trick yourself for the first few years, that practice is where I want to be and the game is secondary, I think you'll work harder in practice, you'll commit to it more, you'll prepare for it more, and that's really where you become the athlete you're going to be, is in the practice, not in the games. The game is the after product, but I think if we can convince the kids that, you know, the main part and the important part is the practice time, then I think those kids will be successful.
Good. Derek, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I think the one thing I was thinking about when I was asked to do this is I guess how much being from Brantford and having a celebrity like Wayne Gretzky to look up to as a young kid meant to me and my friends. He kind of raised the bar and was so exceptional and won so much. Gaylord Palace always used to tell me that, you know, play hard and win championships and you'll be remembered. And at that time, Wayne Gretzky was winning championships, and look at him, everybody remembers him. So being able to be from Brantford, being proud that you're from Brantford, and being proud that you're from a town that Wayne Gretzky is from is something that I think only Brantford people can really understand. And I think that we're very proud that he was able to raise that bar for us and set those standards. And I always liked the way he played hockey because he had vision. He saw the play 2 or 3 plays, you know, down the line. And my dad taught me to play chess when I was young, and he always used to teach me to think ahead, and that's the way Wayne Gretzky played hockey. And as a lacrosse player, you had to have that same vision because you had to be a step ahead. And he really taught us, me anyways, the skill of making the pass and the importance of making the play with the puck, not necessarily scoring, but what are you going to do with it, whether it's out of your zone or in the offensive zone. And if you can make those plays will make you truly great. And he was a living example of how great he was in being able to make plays like that and show us that there's more to it than just scoring goals.